Nobody warns you that the most dangerous question you can ask your best friend isn't, "Do you love me?" It's the softer question, the one that sounds harmless, the one that can still ruin everything. Mine was this: "Why do you never date anyone like me?" And the second I said it, Maya went completely silent. Not confused silent, not thinking about it silent. I mean the kind of silence that feels like a door locking from the inside. She just looked at me, like I had accidentally said the one thing she'd spent years trying not to hear out loud. And if I had known what that silence actually meant, I swear to you, I would have asked that question years earlier. Maya had been my best friend for 9 years. 9 birthdays, 9 New Year's countdowns, 9 winters of her stealing my hoodies and pretending she forgot to give them back. She was the first person I called when I got promoted, and the first person I called when I got laid off 6 months later. She was the voice in my headphones on bad nights, the person who knew how I took my coffee, how I got quiet when something was wrong, how I always said, "I'm fine," in a tone that clearly meant the opposite. And I knew her too, at least I thought I did. I knew she hated crowded bars but loved old movie theaters. I knew she collected books faster than she could read them. I knew she played with the ring on her right hand whenever she was anxious. I knew she smiled with her whole face when she was genuinely happy. And I knew one thing that made absolutely no sense. Maya never really dated, not seriously, not for more than a week or two. Guys liked her, that part was never the problem. She was beautiful in a way that didn't need to announce itself. Not loud, not obvious, just impossible to forget. And men noticed. At coffee shops, at work events, at grocery stores, at our friends' parties. But every time someone got close, she'd find a reason to back away. "He's nice, but... he's funny, but... I don't know, something's missing." For years I let it go, because that's what best friends do when they don't realize they're standing in the middle of their own story. But then our mutual friends started asking questions. It happened most at weddings. Apparently, when a man and woman have known each other forever, finish each other's sentences, and show up together enough times, the rest of the world gets impatient. At our friend Lauren's wedding, Maya was standing next to me under a string of warm lights, holding a champagne glass and pretending not to cry during the vows. I leaned toward her and whispered, "You know you're gonna ruin your mascara, right?" She elbowed me without looking away from the couple. "I'm having a human moment, leave me alone. You cried during a dog food commercial last week. It was emotional." I laughed and she looked at me with that familiar sideways smile. Then Lauren's aunt, who had apparently decided subtlety was dead, walked up to us and said, "You two are next, right?" Maya nearly choked on her drink. I laughed too fast. The kind of laugh people use when they don't know what else to do with the heat rising in their chest. "We're just friends," I said. "Mm-hmm," the aunt said, in the exact tone that means she believed the opposite. Maya smiled politely. But later that night, driving home with the windows cracked and the city lights stretching in blurred gold outside the car, she got quieter than usual. I noticed because silence had never been empty with us. Usually it was comfortable, shared, easy. That night it felt crowded. "You okay?" I asked. "Yeah." That sounded fake. She stared out the passenger window. "I'm just tired." I nodded and kept driving, but the question stayed with me. Not because I thought she was upset about the aunt's comment, because some part of me, some part I had spent years ignoring, wondered why those comments bothered me at all. A week later, we were at our usual diner. Same booth, same terrible neon sign in the window, same waitress calling us "my favorites," like we'd signed a contract to never emotionally evolve. Maya was stirring sugar into her coffee and telling me about a guy from work who'd asked for her number. "He seemed nice," she said. "So that's a no?" She looked up. "Probably." "Why?" She shrugged. "I don't know." I smiled. "You always say that." "Because it's true." "No," I said, leaning back. "You say that when you don't want to explain the real reason." She narrowed her eyes. "You sound very confident for someone who once dated a woman because she had good umbrella energy." "That was one time. That was 3 times. "Fine," I said, "but I'm serious." She took a sip of coffee. "So am I." I don't know what came over me then. Maybe it was the wedding. Maybe it was the way she kept choosing no one. Maybe it was the fact that I had started to notice the way every room felt different when she left it. Maybe I was finally tired of pretending I didn't hear the question underneath all the others. So I laughed, trying to make it light, and I asked, "Then why do you never date anyone like me?" The spoon stopped moving in her hand. That's the first thing I remember. Then her eyes lifted to mine and just stayed there. No smile, no sarcasm, no quick comeback, nothing. The diner noise faded into the background. Plates clinked somewhere. Somebody laughed near the counter. The neon sign buzzed in the window like it was suddenly way too loud. Maya set the spoon down carefully, too carefully. I felt my chest tighten. "Hey," I said, trying to recover. I was joking, but she still didn't say anything. She looked hurt, Not angry, not embarrassed, hurt. Like I had brushed against a bruise I didn't know she had. Then she reached for her bag. "I should go," she said quietly. "Maya, I have an early meeting." Her voice was calm in the terrifying way people get when they're trying very hard not to let something spill. I stood when she stood. Did I say something wrong? That made her pause, and for 1 second, I thought she might actually answer. Instead, she gave me the smallest shake of her head. Not yes, not no, just a broken little movement like she didn't trust herself with words. Then she left, and I sat back down in that booth feeling like I had just watched something important shatter without hearing the sound. That night, I texted her, "Hey, I'm sorry if that came out weird." No response. 20 minutes later, I sent another. I wasn't trying to make things awkward. Still nothing. By midnight, my phone felt heavier every time I checked it. The next morning, there was finally a message. "You didn't do anything wrong, just tired. Talk later." That should have made me feel better. It didn't, because Maya used punctuation when she was keeping emotional distance. It's amazing how quickly you can tell when someone who's always been close starts pulling away. Calls got shorter, replies got slower, plans became, maybe next week. And every time I asked if everything was okay, she gave me the same answer. Yeah, just busy. Busy was the coward's version of goodbye. I knew that because I had used it before, just never on her. 2 weeks passed like that. 2 long, stupid weeks where I kept replaying the diner in my head, trying to figure out what exactly I had broken. Then one Friday night, around 11:40, my phone rang. Maya. I answered so fast I almost dropped it. "Hey, can you come get me?" Her voice was small, tight, and instantly every stupid question I had been asking myself disappeared. "Where are you?" She gave me the address of a hospital across town. My pulse spiked. "What happened?" "It's my dad," she said, and her breath hitched. "He's okay, I think. They're still running tests. My mom's with him, but You don't have to explain. I'm coming." I was out the door in under a minute. When I found her, she was sitting alone in a plastic chair near the vending machines, wearing a sweatshirt over pajama shorts, her hair pulled back badly like she'd done it with shaking hands. The second she saw me, something in her face softened. Not all the way, but enough. I sat down next to her. "How is he?" "They think it's stress-related," she said. "Chest pain, but they don't think it was a heart attack." "Okay, that's good." She nodded, then nodded again, like her body was trying to convince itself. Without really thinking about it, I held out my hand. She looked at it for half a second before taking it. Her fingers were cold. "I'm sorry I called so late," she whispered. I looked at her. "Maya." She swallowed. I squeezed her hand gently. "You never have to be sorry for calling me." And there it was, that tiny shift in her expression, that almost painful softness. She looked away fast, toward the fluorescent hallway. I stayed with her until almost 4 in the morning. Her dad was okay, exhausted, but okay. When we finally walked outside, dawn was just starting to dilute the sky. The air was cold and clean and quiet, in that rare way cities get before they remember themselves. Maya wrapped her arms around herself. "You didn't have to stay all night." "Yes, I did." She gave a tired laugh. "No. You chose to." Same difference. She looked at me then, really looked. There were shadows under her eyes. Fear still clung to her voice. But there was something else there too, something unfinished. "I missed you," I said before I could stop myself. The words hung between us in the morning air. Her face changed, just slightly, like she'd been bracing for impact and didn't know what to do with gentleness instead. "I'm sorry," she said. "For what?" "For disappearing." I wanted to say then. I wanted to ask her again, only this time honestly. Not why she never dated anyone like me, why she had looked at me like that, why losing a little distance between us scared her more than losing me altogether. But she looked so tired, I let it go. So instead I said, "Just don't do it again." And she gave me the kind of smile that hurts because it isn't big enough. After that, we found our rhythm again, or something close to it. We started having dinner together on Thursdays. She came over on Sundays to criticize my cooking and then take over halfway through. She started answering my texts like herself again, fast, sarcastic, impossible. But there was still something underneath it all, a second conversation we weren't having. I started noticing how often she looked away first, how sometimes when our hands brushed, the air changed, how she'd say my name like she was holding back the rest of a sentence. And I started noticing myself too, the jealousy. That was new, ugly, quiet, immediate. I felt it the first time I saw her laughing with a guy outside her office building. He was tall, polished, the kind of man who probably remembered anniversaries and used words like itinerary. She smiled at something he said, and I hated him instantly for earning that smile in broad daylight. Later that night, I tried to sound casual. "So, who was that guy from earlier?" Maya looked up from her couch. "Who?" "The human spreadsheet outside your office." She laughed. "His name is Ben." Of course it is. She raised an eyebrow. You're being weird. Am I? Yes. I sat down across from her. Are you dating him? Her expression closed just a little. Why? I shrugged too hard. No reason. She set her book down. Evan, that tone, the one that pulled truth out of me whether I liked it or not. I exhaled. I don't know, I stopped. You just what? I looked at her, and for a second I considered lying, but I was getting tired of pretending my heartbeat had nothing to do with her. I didn't like seeing him with you, I said. She went still. Why? She asked quietly. And there it was again, that doorway, that chance to either walk through or back away like I always had. So naturally, I panicked. I said too fast. He didn't seem right for you. She leaned back, disappointment flickering across her face so fast I almost missed it. Right, she said. That's all. I hated myself immediately, because I knew what she had asked, and I knew I hadn't answered. A few days later, Lauren called me. You know Maya's moving, right? I nearly dropped my phone. What? There was a pause. She got offered a position in Boston. She hasn't told you? The room around me went hollow. No, I said. Oh, that one little word somehow made it worse. I thanked Lauren, hung up, and stared at the wall like maybe if I stood still enough, the panic wouldn't reach me. Boston. Not across town, not a different neighborhood, a different life. And she hadn't told me. I texted her immediately. Are you moving? No response. I called, straight to voicemail. An hour later, I was outside her apartment feeling equal parts furious and terrified. She opened the door looking startled like she had expected anyone but me. There were boxes in the hallway behind her. That was the part that hurt the most. Not the news, the proof. You were gonna tell me when? I asked. She closed the door halfway behind her. Evan, when? She looked exhausted before the conversation even started. I didn't know how. I laughed once, sharp and joyless. That's not an answer. No, it's the truth. You were just going to leave? Her face tightened. Don't do that. Do what? Act like this is simple. My chest felt too tight for breathing. Then explain it to me. She looked away, and I realized with a sick kind of clarity that this was the same look from the diner, the same silence, the same war happening behind her eyes. So I stepped closer. Is this because of what I asked you? She said nothing. Maya. She finally looked at me, and there were tears in her eyes now. Not falling yet, just there, and somehow that was worse. I can't do this if you're gonna keep saying things like that, she whispered. My anger cracked open. What things? She laughed softly, but there was no humor in it. You really don't know, do you? No, I don't. That's the problem. Her hand moved to the ring on her finger, twisting it once, twice. Then she said, very carefully, You asked why I never date anyone like you. I nodded slowly. She swallowed, and for one long second, I felt the entire world hold its breath. Because I didn't want anyone like you, she said. I wanted you. I forgot how to speak. I just stared at her, at the woman I had known for nearly a decade, the woman who had shown up for every version of me, the woman standing 3 feet away looking like telling me the truth might actually break her. You, my voice failed. I started over. Since when? She smiled sadly. Does it matter? Yes. She looked down. A long time. The hallway seemed too small all of a sudden. All those years rearranged themselves in my head at once. The half-finished sentences, the people she never chose, the way she looked at me when I wasn't paying attention, the quiet, the distance after the diner. My God. Maya, I said, stepping closer. Why didn't you tell me? That made something flash across her face. Not anger, old hurt. Because you told me once, she said, that I was the one person you could never risk losing. I frowned, confused. Then memory hit me so hard, I actually went cold. 3 years earlier. We'd been on my fire escape after one of my worst breakups. I had been drunk, miserable, swearing off complicated relationships forever. Maya had laughed and said, So what? No more dating people you actually care about? And I had said, I'd never date you. Losing you would wreck me. At the time, I thought it sounded meaningful, safe, like proof of how important she was to me. I had no idea it might have sounded like rejection wrapped in sincerity. Her voice was quiet when she continued. You said it like the answer was obvious, like it never even crossed your mind. So I did what people do when they love someone who doesn't love them back. I barely breathed. You stayed. She nodded once, tears finally slipping free now. I stayed. I don't think I had ever hated a past version of myself more. Maya, I said, and my voice broke on her name. I was an idiot. She let out a wet laugh. That's not exactly new information. I laughed too, because somehow even then she could pull me back from the edge. Then we were both quiet, real quiet. No walls left, no sarcasm left, no safe way out. I didn't know, I said. I know. No, I said, stepping closer again. I really didn't know, because if I had, God, if I had. Her eyes lifted to mine. If you had what? And there it was, the truth I had apparently spent years circling like a coward. I looked at her, at the boxes, at the doorway, at the almost loss of her, and suddenly everything became painfully simple. If I had known, I said, I would have told you that every time you almost dated someone, I found a reason to hate him. A small breath left her. I would have told you that when you stopped texting me back, my whole week felt wrong. She didn't move. Neither did I. I would have told you that I ask people if they know you before I trust them. A tear slid down her cheek. I would have told you that there has never been anyone in my life who feels more like home than you. Her mouth parted slightly. And I would have told you, I said, softer now, that I wasn't asking why you never dated anyone like me because I was curious. The room seemed to disappear around us. I was asking because I couldn't stand the idea that someday you might. She closed her eyes briefly, like the words hit somewhere tender. When she opened them again, the look on her face was so open, so vulnerable, it almost hurt to hold. Evan. I stepped into the space between us, slow enough for her to stop me. She didn't. My hand lifted to her face, brushing one tear gently away with my thumb. Are you still moving? I asked. She let out the smallest laugh. That's your question? No, I said. It's the one I'm brave enough to ask while I'm trying very hard not to kiss you. That did it. The laugh she gave this time was shaky and teary and real. And then she whispered, You're taking a very long time. So I kissed her, soft, careful, like something precious I couldn't believe was finally mine to hold. And the thing nobody tells you about finally kissing the person you've loved for too long is that it doesn't feel like fireworks. It feels like relief, like the room in your chest that's been locked for years finally opening. When we pulled apart, her forehead rested against mine. You took forever, she murmured. I know. I was starting to get offended. I deserve that. She smiled, and this time it reached all the way into her eyes. Then she looked at the boxes inside. I did take the Boston job. I nodded once. Okay. She blinked. Okay? I smiled a little. Yeah, okay. Evan, it's across the country. I'm aware. I did pass geography. She laughed again through the tears. I took her hand. I'm not saying distance is easy. I'm saying I'm not losing you just because we finally stopped lying. Something in her expression softened into something steadier now. Not just hope, trust. I don't want you to say this just because I'm leaving, she said quietly. I'm not. How do you know? Because I've been choosing you for years, I said. I just didn't know that's what I was doing. She stared at me like she was checking for cracks in the truth. Whatever she found seemed to calm her. Then what happens now? She asked. I looked at her, at the life inside this apartment, at the version of us already disappearing, and I said the only honest thing I had. Now we stopped being careful. She left for Boston 3 weeks later. I helped her pack. I drove her to the airport. I kissed her in Terminal C while a toddler screamed behind us, and someone dropped a suitcase nearby, and none of it mattered because for once, I wasn't watching her walk away wondering what I should have said. I had said it. She had too. For the first few months, we did the hard part. Red-eye flights, late-night calls, falling asleep on FaceTime. Learning that love, real love, is not made fragile by distance. It's revealed by it. There were hard days. Days when I missed her so much I became accidentally rude to strangers. Days when she sounded tired and I wished I could just bring her takeout and sit on her couch in silence. But there was something beautiful about finally loving each other on purpose. No guessing, no pretending, no swallowing words that were too important to leave unsaid. 6 months later, I visited Boston in the middle of October. The city was all cold air and brick and gold leaves skittering across sidewalks. She met me outside my hotel in a dark coat, cheeks pink from the wind, and for a second I just stood there looking at her, like maybe this was the first time I was allowed to. She walked up smiling. Why are you staring at me? Just thinking. Dangerous. Very. She slipped her hand into mine like it had always belonged there, and maybe it had. We walked for hours that day, past bookstores and bakeries and narrow streets glowing under string lights. At one point we stopped near the water, and she leaned into me, her head against my shoulder. I used to think timing was everything, she said. I looked down at her. And now? Now I think people are. The wind lifted a strand of her hair across her face. I tucked it gently behind her ear. I'm sorry it took me so long. She smiled. It didn't take you too long. No? No, she said. You got there the second it mattered. I wish I could tell you the ending was dramatic, that there were grand speeches and impossible obstacles and some movie-perfect final scene where everything clicked into place under orchestral music. But the truth is better. The truth is quieter. I moved to Boston 8 months later, not because love is supposed to demand sacrifice, because sometimes love just makes your life make more sense in a different city. We found an apartment with terrible kitchen lighting and a radiator that hissed like it had opinions. She still steals my hoodies. I still pretend to be annoyed. We still argue about whether pancakes count as a dinner food. They do. And every now and then, usually on slow nights when rain taps gently against the windows and the room feels wrapped in its own small universe, she'll look at me over the edge of a coffee mug with that same impossible familiar face and say, "You know what's funny?" "What?" "If you'd never asked that stupid question at the diner, I might still be pretending." I always laugh. Then I tell her the truth. That wasn't a stupid question. Because it wasn't. It was clumsy, late, poorly timed, terrifying. But it was the first honest crack in the wall we'd both been hiding behind. And sometimes, that's all love needs. Not perfection, not poetry, just one moment where somebody finally stops pretending they don't feel what they feel. So if you're wondering what happened after my best friend went silent when I asked why she never dated anyone like me, the answer is this. She went silent because the truth was too big for the wrong version of us. And when we finally became the right version, she didn't stay silent at all. She came home one snowy evening last winter, dropped her keys in the bowl by the door, walked straight into the kitchen where I was making coffee, and kissed me like she was still a little amazed we ended up here. Then she smiled against my mouth and whispered, "For the record, there was never anyone like you." And maybe that should sound dramatic. Maybe it should sound like something written for a movie. But standing there in our warm little kitchen, with snow gathering at the windows, and her hands cold from outside and familiar around me anyway, it didn't feel dramatic. It felt true. And after everything we almost lost because we were too afraid to say the obvious thing out loud, truth was more than enough.